It's been a while since I've seen Call Me Carson. I wonder what that little chum's doing nowadays.
Oh wait,
Uh,
I'm using the wrong picture on Discord.
all jokes aside, since Carson came back, his numbers have really declined. 2 years ago, he had everyone talking about how funny or how his content felt genuine, or how bad everyone felt about a certain cheating scandal. Now, no one really talks about him. You have people genuinely thinking during this whole controversy I'm about to get into was predatory and pedophilic, while others simply just don't acknowledge him anymore. His content doesn't have the same click it once had. With that, I'd like to get into the downfall of Call Me Carson. Now, I'd like to start off with the Katarina situation. Yes, I'm aware of the racist Minecraft username he had back in 2016, as well as the whole controversy with his first podcast, but in the end it didn't really affect his career in the long run. I believe the start of his downfall was at arguably his highest point in his career. Katarina cheated on Carson, except for when she didn't. Confused? Let me explain. Katarina met Carson at TwitchCon after finding out about him from a friend. They got to know each other better on a talk show game called Lover Host, hosted by The Austin Show, formerly known as Raj Patel. How this game works is that there's one person choosing from all sorts of different potential lovers, and all those lovers are essentially eliminated over time. Their choice of love or host is revealed when they're eliminated or if they win. When the last person eventually wins, if they choose love, they're assumingly going on a date with that person. If they choose host, well, now they're just clout chasing. Katarina ended up winning the game, and they assumably went on a date. They made a few videos together and collaborated on each other's channels, and though not explicitly said, everyone, even Carson, assumed that they were dating, especially with the way they acted towards each other. Suddenly, on March 12th, 2020, Carson announced an indefinite break. People speculated on his subreddit that Katarina may have cheated on him with fellow creator and streamer Fitz, and on April 1st, Carson responded to a comment confirming that was the case, as well as problems he was dealing with in regards to mental health. Later, on April 15th, Carson made a twit-long on how he regrets making this situation public, how he feels largely at fault, and how in the end, Fitz and Katarina's careers shouldn't be at risk for his behavior. Later on, more boyfriends were revealed. At this point, you had everyone calling her a literal whore or something along the lines of that. The whole situation with how many boyfriends Katarina had was blown way out of proportion. Everyone had over-exaggerated with how many guys she was with. Of course, like she was with an absurd amount of guys, but the whole thing was just exaggerated. Carson came back later and started a new shtick where he just started playing 8-ball with other people on Twitter. He didn't fully come back until April 25th. In a twist, what actually ended up happening was revealed in early January of 2021 by Chad of Anything for Views. Katarina wasn't in a relationship with any of these guys, but she did have a boyfriend who she cheated on, which was her manager at the time, I believe. Well, now I just look like a dumbass. What I don't understand is why she still acted like they were in a relationship when later on it was found out that wasn't the case. Hell, it could have been the case for the majority of the dudes she was talking to besides her manager. With the amount of boyfriends she had, exaggerated or not, a majority agrees that she somewhat led all of them on. On that same day, this was also when the sexual allegations appeared.
Acting weird, whatever, that's why I'm sick. But this is a very important story. Today we are going to be talking about one of the most beloved Minecraft YouTubers known as Carson, who there's been rumors circulating, I've heard this from other YouTubers, that he was basically with his underage fans, sending eggplant emojis. They were sending back peach emojis. You know what we're talking about.
Members Travis and Hugbox, not Hungrybox, from the now defunct Lunch Club came on Drama Alert to reveal that sometime in March 2020, Carson had confessed to all the members that he sexted underage fans.
Well, I'm gonna stick to the facts here, which was that one day in March, he called me shortly before he told Travis. Everybody was up in LA and he told most of them face to face, but he called me And I picked up the phone, and he was basically like, I have to tell you something. And then he told me that he did underage girls, and I think that he said that they were fans.
Carson, during all of this, told Lunch Club members shortly after he confessed that he will take a step back, possibly to go into therapy and to help himself, in which he did not do. They explained that it took so long for them to reveal because they'd be backstabbing a friend, they feared a potential lawsuit from Carson, and in general, they'd be putting themselves in yet another controversy. The first known victim who came out to expose Carson was a user known as Miniborb. She had come out to reveal that she had been groomed by Carson, and showed screenshots as far back as late March, early April of 2019. The screenshots are confirmed to be real, as Carson reveals in leaked Discord screenshots I'll get into later. The age gap was revealed to be a 2 to 2.5 year age gap, as the victim was 17 and Carson was 19 turning 20, though the age gap wasn't the issue initially. The main issue was the power gap Carson had over a fan, an underage one at that. Admittedly, this confession was ultimately the reason why Lunch Club disbanded. On January 5th, YouTuber Joko shared Discord messages on Carson's confession, and his reaction to the allegations being made public. He was disgusted and regretted sexting a fan in general. Later that same day, another victim, known as Copycat, also came out to expose Carson on grooming and sexting. Unfortunately, she didn't have much proof other than a Snapchat screenshot she got from Carson. After feeling sick from the behavior he did, on June 12, 2019, he snapped her this before assumingly unadding her. From what is known, the age gap between Carson and Copycat this time is 20 and 17 respectively. Of course, it could be the same age gap as the first victim. I assume that he stopped the sexting stuff entirely during the late summer of 2019, since he later apologized to both victims personally, but I'm not entirely sure if there's any more people he sexted or if there was only 2. The reaction from all of his former peers and fans were immediate, as they condemned him for his actions, some of which thought was predatory. Everyone from Lunch Club put out statements telling their side of what went down. Jay Schlatt put out a video on his weekly Slap channel going more in depth into not only Carson's behavior, but also his mental health. Carson claimed he was getting help and going to therapy, but as stated before, he never actively went out of his way to go and get it. Schlatt was also more neutral on this than the other members of Lunch Club. Since he goes more into what Carson did privately, I'll come back to the video in a bit. Travis and Hugbox, after the interview, said nothing publicly about the situation other than what was already said on Drama Alert. Slimesicle claims that he had filed a police report as soon as Carson confessed, but it was found that he contradicted himself due to still collaborating with Carson until late 2020. Ted Nivison put out a statement on Twitter expressing how difficult it was to disassociate himself from Carson, since he helped Ted to get to where he is now. He also mentions how Carson didn't seek help when he said he would. C-Scope was originally supposed to go on Drama Alert to expose Carson, but was too mentally scarred to do so. He did confirm later that he also cut ties with Carson. After all this, Carson went into yet another hiatus, not to be seen for another 9 months. I'd like to add that from the screenshots that were shown earlier, it's kinda obvious that in the end, these were just 2 horny teenagers. Of course, what Carson did was illegal, and I would go to the legality of all of this, but I have no idea where Carson or the victims were when this was going on. Anyways, the power and influence Carson had made stuff like this exploitable. Carson made the first move to an otherwise joke tweet, and of course, a fan would do anything for someone they look up to. But it doesn't help that the victim somewhat led him on, even when Carson was getting uncomfortable with the whole sexting thing. Essentially what I'm trying to say is, they're both dumb cunts, but one of them's an even bigger one. I can't really say much with the other victims, since there's barely any proof other than a snap and word of mouth. As far as we know, it did happen. I'm not sure as to why he decided to do this other than sexual exploitation. Like I said, you can see him being hesitant with these 2 victims. He knew what he was doing, and he knew that it was wrong. I guess for holding that guilt in for so long, he felt it was necessary to confess. Unfortunately, it was at the worst time possible because the Katarina situation happened. Going back to Schlatt's video, he tells us that Carson was at his lowest point of his life, so much that he may have been thinking about suicide. Schlatt and Josh, and maybe a few more of Carson's friends, would spend hours a day making sure he was alright.
We talked him out of doing the impulsive shit he told us he was thinking of doing, like deleting all the social media and posting about Kate. But so much time spent with the guy just trying to be good friends for him and trying to do what we thought was the right thing to do. But a few weeks ago, I started having some conversations with some of Carson's closest friends, including his former roommates. And in my discussions with them, I heard some things that suggested that Carson wasn't improving in the areas that he should have been. And he was showing signs of continuing some of his inappropriate behavior. And apparently this was happening while I was spending all this time trying to help him. And while he was saying that he was working on himself and that he was changing and that he hates the person he used to be.
He kind of lost his trust to all of his friends. He was tempted to go back to his old habits and go back to potentially sexting fans, or doing other stuff only his closest friends could imagine. The main point Schlatt was trying to make is how Carson lied to everyone. He lied about changing, he lied about getting better, even after all of his friends were doing the best they could to make sure he was okay. That's why when the allegations came out in early January of 2021, they reacted the way they did. Of course, there could have been more that happened behind the scenes, because later, during Carson's second hiatus, he was on Miskiff's stream for a bit announcing his return. Miskiff later said he regrets having him on after finding out more information that isn't known publicly, and it's probably not going to be known for some time. Carson, after hinting his return for months, finally uploaded on August 25th, 2021. The video was received positively on YouTube, but the exact opposite could be said on Twitter. Even though he didn't apologize in the video for his actions, you can already tell he was apologetic. He didn't owe anyone an apology besides the people he affected. This comeback alone was massive, and he was starting a year of charity for his return. The remaining fans he had were excited for his return on September 1st. And when he came back, you already had people spamming in his Twitch chat. People were that excited to see him back. So what happened? From his return to now, his numbers haven't done so well in the long run. Over time, he's progressively lost more and more viewers on both YouTube and Twitch. He hasn't even hit 1 million views since his return. I think what happened is that Carson's content has somewhat changed negatively, and that's expected. He doesn't play with the same people anymore. His content just has a different vibe in general. It just doesn't have that same charm it once had. But it seems like that all doesn't matter to Carson anymore. He seems to be enjoying himself while making videos and streaming. He doesn't really care about anything online other than having fun. And as long as he's enjoying himself, and as long as he's able to redeem himself from a career-ending controversy, it's an otherwise bittersweet conclusion to everything involving himself. It's unfortunate to see him fall under irrelevancy, especially since he's made a massive change to himself. He seems more happier, he seems more genuine, and overall he's just enjoying himself for what he can do. He knows he won't get forgiveness from his former peers, but at most he can at least forgive himself. And yeah, of course what he did, exploiting fans, it's inarguably fucked up. But as long as he finds himself not doing anything of that sort again, and as long as he's apologized to everyone involved, then I truly believe that he's changed and he deserves a second chance.